Rockefeller, world's first billionaire. When it comes to wealth, there's a scale for everything. What defines wealthy today may differ significantly from what it was like to be affluent a century ago. The number of billionaires grows in tandem with inflation, which raises the expense of living. Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. Today we are going to talk about Rockefeller, the world's first billionaire. Before we get started with the video, don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. John Davison Rockefeller was an American business entrepreneur and philanthropist. He was one of the most wealthy Americans in history, as well as one of the richest people in modern times. John Davison Rockefeller, the son of a traveling salesman, was born on July 8, 1839, in Richford, New York. Even as a child, the future oil magnate worked hard to make money by growing turkeys, selling candies, and performing odd jobs for neighbors. In 1853, the Rockefeller family relocated to Cleveland, Ohio, where John completed high school before briefly studying accountancy at a commercial college. He obtained work as an office clerk for a Cleveland commission firm that purchased, sold, and delivered grain, coal, and other commodities when he was 16 years old in 1855. In 1859, Rockefeller and a colleague started their own commission firm. That same year, America's first oil well was drilled in Titusville, Pennsylvania. Rockefeller and his associates invested in a Cleveland refinery in 1863, capitalizing on the burgeoning oil business. In 1864, Rockefeller married Laura Celestia Seti Spellman, 1839 to 1915, an Ohio native whose father was a successful merchant, politician, and abolitionist who participated in the Underground Railroad. The Rockefellers had 5 children, 4 daughters, 3 of whom survived to maturity, and 1 son, John D. Rockefeller, Jr., Edith Rockefeller McCormick, Elizabeth Rockefeller Strong, Alta Rockefeller Prentice, and Alice Rockefeller, who died at the age of 13 months. Rockefeller's fortunes skyrocketed as the importance of kerosene and gasoline grew, and he became the country's wealthiest man, controlling 90% of all oil in the United States by 1900. Oil was used to light lamps as well as to power ships and automobiles. Standard Oil was the largest commercial trust in the United States. Rockefeller transformed the petroleum business by using the company's monopoly status and through corporate and technological advances was essential in widely dispersing and dramatically lowering oil production costs. Rockefeller's corporation and commercial tactics were criticized, particularly in the works of author Ida Tarbell. In 1911, the Supreme Court determined that Standard Oil must be destroyed for violating federal antitrust laws. It was divided into 34 different corporations, including companies that became ExxonMobil, Chevron Corporation, and others, some of which are now among the world's largest by revenue. As a result, Rockefeller became the country's first billionaire, with a fortune worth almost 2% of the national economy. In 1913, his personal wealth was reported to be $900 million, accounting for about 3% of the U.S.'s $39.1 billion GDP that year. Rockefeller, along with other prominent entrepreneurs such as Andrew Carnegie, defined the structure of contemporary charity during his 40-year retirement at Kikuit, his home in Westchester County, New York. His income was mostly used to pioneer the contemporary systematic approach to focused giving by establishing foundations that supported medical, educational, and scientific research. His foundations paved the way for advances in medical research, helping to nearly eradicate hookworm in the American South and yellow fever in the United States. He and Carnegie's charitable contributions gave shape and energy to Abraham Flexner's work, which, in his essay Medical Education in America, decisively established empiricism as the foundation for the 20th century U.S. medical system. Rockefeller founded the University of Chicago and Rockefeller University, and he also supported Central Philippine University in the Philippines. He was a devoted Northern Baptist who funded numerous church-related institutions. He maintained complete abstinence from alcohol and tobacco throughout his life. He depended heavily on his wife, Laura Spellman Rockefeller, for counsel. They had 4 daughters and a boy together. He was an active member of the Erie Street Baptist Mission Church. where he taught Sunday school and acted as trustee, clerk, and occasional janitor. Religion was a guiding force in his life, and he saw it as the basis of his success. Rockefeller was also regarded as a supporter of capitalism from a social Darwinist standpoint, and he was frequently quoted as saying, "The growth of a large business is merely the survival of the fittest." Early life. Rockefeller was the second of 6 children born in Richford, New York, to con man William A. Rockefeller Sr. and Eliza Davison. Rockefeller had an older sister, Lucy, and 4 younger siblings, William Jr., Mary, and fraternal twins Franklin, Frank, and Frances. His father was of English and German ancestry, and his mother was of Ulster Scot origin. According to one story, some ancestors were Huguenots, the Rockefeller family, who escaped to Germany from France during Louis XIV's rule and religious persecution. By the time their descendants emigrated to North America, their name had taken on German form. William Sr. began his career as a lumberjack before becoming a traveling salesman. He claimed to be a botanic physician who sold elixirs, and locals referred to him as Big Bill and Devil Bill. He lived a wandering lifestyle, unconstrained by conventional morality, and only visited his family on rare occasions. Throughout his life, Bill was known for his scams. Between the births of Lucy and John, Bill and his mistress and housekeeper, Nancy Brown, had a daughter named Clorinda, who died early. Between the births of John and William Jr., Bill and Nancy had another daughter, Cornelia. Pre-Standard Oil career. When Rockefeller was 16 years old in September 1855, he started his first employment as an assistant bookkeeper for Hewitt and Tuttle, a small produce commission firm in Cleveland. He worked long hours and was delighted, as he later recounted, with all the methods and systems of the office. He was particularly good at estimating transportation expenses, which helped him later in his work. Much of Rockefeller's responsibilities included negotiating with barge canal owners, ship captains, and freight agents. During these conversations, he discovered that listed transportation rates, which were thought to be set, could be changed based on freight circumstances and schedule, as well as by offering rebates to preferred shippers. When Hewitt instructed Rockefeller to collect debts, he was also assigned the task. Instead of relying on his father's presence to collect debts, Rockefeller used a relentless pestering strategy. Rockefeller earned $16 per month for his 3-month apprenticeship. During his first year, he earned $31 per month, which was raised to $50 per month. His final year earned him $58 per month. As a child, Rockefeller reportedly stated that his 2 greatest objectives were to earn $100,000 and to live 100 years. Business cooperation and Civil War service. In 1859, Rockefeller and 2 partners, Morris B. Clark and George W. Gardner, founded Clark, Gardner and Company and raised $4,000 in capital. Clark proposed the alliance and offered $2,000 toward the objective. Rockefeller had only $800 saved at the time, so he borrowed $1,000 from his father, Big Bill Rockefeller, at 10% interest. Rockefeller progressed steadily in business from there, earning money every year of his career. Clark, Gardner, and Rockefeller made $4,400 on nearly $500,000 in business, and $17,000 in profit in their first and second years of operation, respectively, and their profits skyrocketed with the outbreak of the American Civil War, when the Union Army requested massive amounts of food and supplies. During the second year of the American Civil War, Gardner left the company, and it became Clark and Rockefeller. As the Civil War came to an end and the hope of wartime earnings faded, Clark and Rockefeller turned to crude oil refining. While his brother Frank was fighting in the Civil War, Rockefeller operated his business and hired substitute soldiers. He contributed to the Union cause, as did many wealthy Northerners who avoided battle. "I wanted to go into the army and do my part," Rockefeller stated. "But that was simply out of the question. There wasn't anybody to take my place. We were in a new business, and if I hadn't stayed, it would have failed, especially since so many people depended on it." Rockefeller was an abolitionist who voted for President Abraham Lincoln and backed the emerging Republican Party. He stated that God gave me money and made no apologies for it. He felt at ease and righteous as he followed Methodist preacher John Wesley's advice to gain all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. During the Civil War, military usage of oil drove the price up from $35 per barrel in 1862 to as much as $13.75. This resulted in an oil drilling oversupply with thousands of speculators hoping to earn their fortunes. Most failed, but those who struck oil didn't even have to be efficient. They would blow holes in the earth and collect as much oil as they could, often resulting in creeks and rivers that flowed with waste oil instead of water. There was a market for refined oil in the form of kerosene. Coal has previously been used to extract kerosene, but the lengthy extraction method and expensive cost prohibited widespread adoption. Despite the high expenses of freight transportation and a government levy during the Civil War, earnings on the refined product were substantial. In 1863, the price of refined oil was roughly $13 per barrel, with a profit margin of about $5 to $8. A refinery's capital costs were minor at the time, ranging from $1,000 to $1,500, and it only required a few men to operate. In this wasteful boom, the partners shifted from food to oil, constructing an oil refinery in 1863 on the Flats, Cleveland's growing industrial neighborhood. Andrews, Clark and Company, a partnership formed by Clark and Rockefeller, scientist Samuel Andrews, and M.B. Clark's two brothers, owned the refinery directly. The commercial oil industry was still in its infancy. Whale oil had become prohibitively expensive for the general public, necessitating the development of a more affordable general-purpose lighting fuel. Beginning in the oil business. In 1866, John's brother, William Rockefeller Jr., established another refinery in Cleveland and welcomed John into the company. In 1867, Henry Morrison Flagler joined as a partner, forming the business Rockefeller, Andrews, and Flagler. By 1868, with Rockefeller's continued tactics of borrowing and reinvesting profits, limiting costs, and utilizing refinery waste, the business possessed two Cleveland refineries, as well as a marketing subsidiary in New York, making it the world's largest oil refinery. The Standard Oil Company's antecedent was Rockefeller, Andrews, and Flagler. Standard Oil, founding and early growth. By the end of the American Civil War, Cleveland was one of the 5 major refining centers in the United States. By 1869, there was 3 times more kerosene refining capacity than was required to serve the market, and this capacity remained in excess for many years. On January 10, 1870, Rockefeller dissolved the partnership of Rockefeller, Andrews, and Flagler, establishing Standard Oil of Ohio. Continuing to use his work ethic and efficiency, Rockefeller swiftly developed the company to become Ohio's most lucrative refiner. Similarly, it became one of the top shippers of oil and kerosene in the nation. The railroads competed hard for traffic, and in an attempt to build a cartel to regulate freight prices, established the South Improvement Company, which offered special deals to bulk customers such as Standard Oil outside of the main oil locations. The cartel provided special treatment as a high-volume shipper, including not just hefty discounts/rebates of up to 50% on their goods, but also rebates for the shipment of competing items. Despite being vilified by the press for the first time, Rockefeller persisted in his self-reinforcing cycle of purchasing the least efficient competing refiners, improving the efficiency of his operations, negotiating for discounts on oil shipments, undercutting his competition, making secret deals, raising investment pools, and buying out competitors. In less than 4 months in 1872, Standard Oil acquired 22 of its 26 Cleveland competitors in what became known as the Cleveland Conquest, or the Cleveland Massacre. Even his previous adversaries, Pratt and Rogers, realized the futility of continuing to struggle with Standard Oil. In 1874, they reached a secret arrangement with Rockefeller to be acquired. Pratt and Rogers became Rockefeller's partners. In particular, Rogers became one of Rockefeller's main figures in the establishment of the Standard Oil Trust. Pratt's son, Charles Millard Pratt, became Standard Oil's secretary. For many of his opponents, his partner Pratt responded to the claim, "Competitors we must have. If we absorb them, it will undoubtedly bring forth another." Instead of seeking to eradicate them, Rockefeller regarded himself as the industry's rescuer, an angel of mercy, who would absorb the weak and make the sector as a whole stronger, more efficient, and competitive. Standard was expanding horizontally and vertically. It developed its own pipes, tank vehicles, and home delivery network. It kept oil costs low to keep competitors at bay, made its products affordable to the average household, and occasionally offered below-cost products to expand market penetration. It created nearly 300 oil-based items ranging from tar to paint, petroleum jelly to chewing gum. By the end of the 1870s, Standard was refining more than 90% of all oil in the United States. That's the end of the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.